Hi, welcome to another one of my videos I'm going to do. If you haven't checked out my first video on an Argus C44, be sure to look that one up. I promptly broke that camera right after making that video, so that one's out of action now. I was taking apart and accidentally broke the shutter speed dial off it, and it made something else on the camera go wonky, so I'm done with major repairs for cameras. So today I'm going to make a video on some of the film cameras I use. I started off with film cameras actually. My first camera was a Canon A1, which I used for 4 or 5 years, and I finally just sold that with the couple of lenses I had for it. I really like that camera, but just wanted to try something else and venture into some rangefinders and some other SLRs and some other cameras. So first, I'll tell you why I shoot film. I started with it just because that's what I could afford. It was I could get a nice camera with some nice lenses for, you know, the A1. I think I had everything for $100 or less. So that was the main reason. And then I did get a digital camera, which is nothing new or state-of-the-art by any means, Canon 20D, and I used this for a couple years. And then now I've gone back to film, and the big reason why is I started getting really frustrated with how many shots I'd go take, and usually I found them pretty boring, and then I ended up deleting half of them. So I just decided that I took a lot better pictures with film cameras. You only have a certain amount of frames you have, so you end up taking pictures of only stuff you want to, not just everything around you. The other big reason, and this was probably more important to be honest, is the frame or the sensor size. Most of you probably already know most cameras, except for the really high-end ones, have a crop sensor. They are crop censored. This Canon's 1.6 crop sensor, which basically means, like, if I put my 100 to 300 millimeter USM lens on here, it's actually 160 millimeter to 480 or something like that, which is nice if you're doing really long telephoto work, but for anything else it's just extremely frustrating, especially for me because I like to take a lot of landscape pictures. Stuff just ends up, it's not wide enough. I'm too tight on most of my shots, and I never could get what I wanted. I'll show you a size difference. I'll just grab one of the cameras I'm going to talk about in a little bit. A really cheap Canon EOS Rebel G. So you can just see the size difference just by looking at the mirror. It's about the same size as the sensor. You can see how much bigger the 35 millimeter is. So the funny thing is, of all the cameras I've had, just a couple weeks ago I took probably my best picture on a roll of T-Max 100 with this camera with this 100 to 300 millimeter lens, and I'll put that in a link later on in the video or in the show notes. So first camera I'm going to show you is a rangefinder. This one's from the 70s, a Yashica Electro 35 GSN. This was my first rangefinder camera, and I really like it. The first roll I shot through this, I shot some Tri-X 400 through this, and I really liked it. It's super easy to use. If you shoot an aperture priority most of the time with your cameras, which I know a lot of people do, and that's what I like to do, so you can control your depth of field, especially for still images, or, you know, a subject that's not moving. That's basically what this camera does. It shoots an aperture priority 100% of the time, which is also a disadvantage because you can't control the shutter speed, which some people like to have that manual control over it. It has the aperture ring right here, so all you do is select your aperture. So I'll just show you how this works, and it shows you in the viewfinder too, but say I go to f16, and then that's obviously going to be not going to let enough light in for an indoor shot, so what it'll do is it'll tell you you're too slow, and there's an arrow pointing telling you to move the aperture ring this way. So you go F4, and then 5.6, and then you're okay. Nothing lights up. That means you can take a picture. If you go too low, 1.7, it'll flash both of them, or excuse me, not both of them, the overexposed light. And again, it does the same thing in the viewfinder. So really easy to camera to use. Shutter, it's pretty quiet. Yeah, it's pretty simple. There's really not a whole lot else to say about it. There's other more detailed videos and links that you can find for a better description of it. But it's a pretty simple camera in terms of its usage. So it has a self-timer on the lens. It has a bulb setting and a flash setting. The viewfinder is not very bright. That's one thing I don't like about it. I'm not a big fan of the frame lines. It kind of just has the corners, and it's pretty dim. So for me, I'm waiting for a camera I just picked up, an Olympus 35RD, which is quite a bit smaller than this. And that has a way brighter viewfinder. It had some sticky shutter blade, so that's getting fixed. So I'm really looking forward to get that back. That one is very, very well made, whereas this one, not so much. I mean, it's perfectly fine if you're just gonna walk around taking some family pictures or something like that. It's not gonna fall apart by any means, but some of the materials on it just aren't that nice, and some of the things are just kind of flimsy. But for most people, it'll be fine. If you want to pick one of these up, they're pretty cheap. I think you could probably get one for, you know, 30, 40 bucks. You're probably gonna have to replace the light seals, but that's pretty much standard in most old cameras. So next, I am going to show you my newest SLR. This is a fully manual camera. It's mechanical, which as opposed to my electronic A1 that I had. And this is the Nikon F2, which is a professional grade camera from the 70s. They made them from 1971, and then I think production stopped in 79 or 80, I want to say. I'm probably wrong on that. This one's from 1976, so it's 40 years old. The meter still works in this one. The later years they used a different material in the ring resistors, I think. So the meter still works on this one. Unfortunately, the first roll of film I shot through it, that's the meter I used, was the cameras, and I got some pretty wonky exposures. So either service them when you get them, which, you know, can get kind of expensive to have the meter serviced. Otherwise, what I would recommend doing, since this is a fully mechanical camera, and you know the only thing the battery powers is the meter, I would just use an external meter. That's what you're going to get more accurate readings anyway. I wouldn't rely on too much on a 40-year-old meter. This camera has a 50mm f2 lens on it, which it's pretty sharp. I was pretty happy with some of the pictures I took. Like I said, it was kind of hard. I've only shot one roll of film through this. I've only had it about a month and a half. Really difficult to see what some of the exposures were off, so I didn't even look at a lot of the pictures. So, but it is an f2 lens. It's not the 1.4, which was pretty common on these cameras. I shoot a lot of landscape outside middle of the day. I usually don't need a super low f-stop. But yeah, this camera is probably the best made camera I've ever picked up. Everything on it's just very solid. It's, like I said, it's all mechanical. This one is in pretty good shape, but everything's just super solid. If you drop this, it's probably not going to break. I'll just put it that way. So the biggest downfall with this is the weight. It's very heavy. I'm going to be looking at getting some Minolta body. I picked up a Minolta lens the other day, and I just kind of want a lighter SLR. I mean, if I was going to go shoot something outside an event and I wasn't going to be carrying the camera on it all day, yeah, I'd probably take this. But if I was going to be going on a trip or something where I was going to be carrying the camera around all day, I'd either take a rangefinder or a lighter SLR. You probably wouldn't want this around your neck all day. It's pretty heavy, but it's got pretty much anything you ever need on it. Just the basic stuff. All the metering stuff is in the viewfinder, so you know when your exposure is going to be correct. I use a depth of field preview a lot, which is right here. Really easy to stop the lens down and see what your depth of field is going to be. It has a timer right here. Your shutter speed is back here, kind of different. The ASA dial, ISO, is up top here. Has a mirror flip up or lock up, which I haven't used yet, taking a picture, but something handy to have. So yeah, this is definitely probably the most rugged SLR you could probably pick up. So I'd recommend that if you're looking for something pretty sturdy. But be aware that it is pretty heavy to carry this around, especially for a 35mm camera. So next, I will go to some of the more modern automated cameras from the 90s that I have. First, I'll show you the one I showed earlier, the Canon EOS Rebel G. Really cheap film camera body. It's all plastic. Has a couple different metering modes. Typical selectors up here. You can do manual mode, aperture priority, shutter priority, automatic modes, and the scene modes. But it's full frame, and if you put a really nice lens on here, this is a 100 to 300 USM, which is made for full frame cameras. You'll probably get a similar image than if you were using a super high-end body with the same lens. So, this isn't bad to have. It's really light, really easy to carry around, but and I really like this. The only thing was it doesn't fit my hand very well. It's pretty small, so my pinky's always finding a place up here. So, which is why I picked up the Canon A2. I got it more so for the lens. I got it. These are the kit lenses, the 28 to 105 USM. These are the lenses that came with these back in the day. If you got them with it as a kit, these weren't the top of the line Canon cameras. These were one step down from the EOS 1. But great camera. Fits really nice in my hand. It's from the 90s. It's pretty plasticky. It feels very tough. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I wouldn't have anything against this. If I dropped it or something, I think it would probably be fine. But it does feel a little bit plasticky, so it kind of creaks and whatnot. But not too bad. Pretty solid camera. I just shot a roll through this. I've only had this about 2 weeks, so I'm interested to see what I got from that. But some advantages this has over the Rebel G, obviously a much higher end camera. Has the custom function settings. Has a few more autofocus sensors. Although it's kind of goofy, they are all 5 in a line, so they're a little bit different than what we're used to now with 9 autofocus points or however many your camera may have. I'm not a huge fan of the custom function settings just because you have to go through there and know which one each one is and flip it on. But that's not enough for me not to use this camera. I really like this camera. Has a really high frame rate, frames per second. I think it does 5, which for me, I would never use that, but if somebody needed that, that'd be pretty nice. That's just what the camera sounds like. I'll show you what it... Alright, it was trying to autofocus on something there, that's why it wouldn't take off. But so yeah, it's 5 frames per second, which for me isn't that important. But yeah, I really like this camera. I think I'm going to use this camera a lot. I like using cameras like this because I can trust the meter in it. I can go out and I know that most of the time, most of the shots I'm going to get, I can trust the meter. It's going to turn out the way I want it to. So I think this is going to be a camera I use quite a bit. So I think that's all I had to show you. Keep an eye out for the Olympus 35RD video I'm going to make. I want to get it and shoot a roll of film through it before I review it. I'll put some pictures from some of these cameras in a link at the bottom, I think, to my Flickr account, and then that way you can just kind of see what kind of pictures they make. Yeah, if you have any questions, put them in the notes, and thanks for watching.